Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the live discussion portion of the 2022 Barnard Virtual Annual Gala. I hope you enjoyed the formal program, and I'm delighted to have the opportunity to speak with several of tonight's honorees, Barnard alumni who are members of the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine. On behalf of the Gala team, thank you for joining us, and thank you for your continued support. My name is Valenza Shin. I'm a proud member of Barnard's class of 1984. As well, I am the Associate Dean for Beyond Barnard, the college's hub for advising and resources for careers, internships, competitive fellowships, and applications to graduate and professional school. I'm joined here by student moderator, Jeanty, class of 2025.
Good evening, everyone. I am so excited to help Christine facilitate our conversation tonight. My name is Jeanty. I'm a first-year student planning to major in biochemistry, and I have a passion for chemistry, in particular, the chemistry of the body in relation to medicine and drugs. And after Barnard, I plan to pursue a graduate degree and career in pharmacology.
Thank you, Sarah. Welcome to Barnard. It's so exciting to have a first year at our virtual gala. I'm excited to moderate this evening's conversation with you. Now I'd like to introduce all of you to a few of our 2022 gala honorees. In the room, we have Jacqueline K. Barton, class of 74, National Academy of Sciences, National Academy of Medicine. Helene Gayle, class of 76, National Academy of Medicine. Gritz, class of 64, National Academy of Medicine. Elizabeth B. McNally, class of 83, National Academy of Medicine. And Elissa Newport, class of 69, National Academy of Sciences. We'll hear from our honorees in just a moment. First, as always on Zoom, a few housekeeping items. Please take a minute, if you will, to change your Zoom display name to reflect your full name, class or parent year or affiliation by clicking on the 3 dots on the upper right corner of your video square and then click rename. Please be aware this event is being recorded and will be shared by the Gala team next week. If you choose to use a microphone and or appear on camera, you agree that your image and or voice can be used exclusively by Barnard College. Written submissions of questions may be shared through the chat or out loud. We want this to be a conversational format, so please jump in with questions or comments. Finally, near the end of our discussion tonight, we will take a Zoom photo, so please stick around for that. So I'm just going to ask, we're just going to ask a couple of questions to get things started and then turn things over to our audience. So I'm going to ask each of our honorees who are with us can you provide a brief overview of your work? And I'm going to go ahead and start with Gritz.
Hello, everyone. It's wonderful to be here speaking to you. And I was a psychology major at Barnard, and I pursued that throughout my career. I originally trained in experimental psychology and then went on to get licensed as a clinical psychologist. And all of that led me eventually to a career in cancer prevention and control, which really means everywhere from the behavioral aspects of how one develops cancer, how early detection and treatment and survivorship, everything that human behavior has as an aspect of relationship to cancer. My primary focus was on smoking, which was a very big problem, a huge health threat in the United States. At the time I got my PhD, and even really through today, where almost 500,000 people a year die unnecessarily from smoking-related diseases. And I focused eventually on women and smoking and on cancer patients and smoking, and did research that had to do with cessation, prevention, and eventually quality of life and cancer survivorship. And I think that's probably a pretty good summary of what my work focused on. Thank you.
Thank you. Jacqueline K. Barton, we'll go to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jackie. I'm a chemist and took my first chemistry class at Barnard College. And I'm now a professor of chemistry at Caltech. I got tenure at Columbia in the chemistry department, and I've spent my life looking at DNA and the chemistry of DNA. and trying to understand how our DNA is damaged. Our DNA is getting damaged all the time, and it's also getting repaired. So how does that machinery work within the cell to find these little bits of damage and distinguish them from undamaged DNA and find it and fix it? And if you can't fix the damage, you do get cancer. Bad stuff happens. And so we've learned a lot about actually how that chemistry actually works, and how proteins have little bits of iron in them and shoot electrons through the DNA to find that damage. Sort of the way telephone repairmen used to go on either ends of a telephone pole and look for where there was a break in the line. So that's been something that I've looked at for a long time. I noticed that my former postdoc, who's now on the faculty at Barnard, is here as well, Marissa Buzio. And the thing of which I'm most proud is actually the many remarkable women who have trained in my laboratory and then go on to do their own science around the world. And I think that's something I really learned to appreciate at Barnard. And I think I'll keep it at that for the moment.
Thanks. Helene, Gayle, tell us about your work.
Hi. So I started out like Ellen. I was a psychology major, and as I was thinking about ways in which I could use psychology, I started thinking about psychiatry, and because Barnard has such a strong focus on pre-med and medical school, I ended up deciding to go into medical school and studied pediatrics as my specialty, but then really knew that I wanted to have a population impact on health, and went to the Centers for Disease Control to focus on prevention and public health, which at the time I went to CDC was right around the time that the HIV/AIDS pandemic was starting to unfold. And so I spent much of my 20 years at CDC focusing on HIV and AIDS, and both here in the United States as well as internationally. That led me to the Gates Foundation, where they were really focused on global health, and particularly at that time, HIV was a high priority. And then have actually kind of pivoted to thinking about what we now call the social determinants of health. How are the things that are not necessarily in the medical care system, but are the things that really impact our health in so many ways? Whether or not we have a living wage and good economic opportunities, whether we live in neighborhoods that are safe, whether or not we can drink clean, safe water, all the things that are kind of the other things that really have a huge impact on the health and well-being of people, and really in many ways has a greater impact on determining people's life's outcome, particularly when we think about the disparities that we see in health. So I've kind of gone from being an individual practitioner to thinking about public health, and then thinking about all the things that impact health in the broader sense of social determinants of health. And I would just say it's been a wonderful opportunity. And I would say that had I not gone to Barnard, I'm not sure that I would have had the confidence to come in and out of different arenas, think about the opportunity for continual learning and continually thinking about where one's career can lead you, starting from where I started to where I ended up. And today I was just announced as the next president of Spelman College. So this will be the next chapter of my life. And again, none of this would have been possible had I not had the incredible experience that gave me the confidence that I got from being at Barnard.
That's just amazing news. Thank you for sharing that, and congratulations. I'm going to go to Elissa, Newport, to tell us about your work.
Yes, I was another psych major at Barnard. I was also interested in experimental psychology. Actually, when I was at Barnard, I convinced my professors to let me be a TA. So I took care of the rats for the learning lab when I was an undergrad. And my fondest memory was when I was cleaning the cages and they jumped on my head and I had like 10 rats climbing in my head. That led me not to do further work in that region. I went to graduate school and studied language and how kids learn languages, and ended up in studying the psychology of language and also linguistics. And I worked for a very long time studying how children learn languages and why children are better language learners than adults, whether there's a critical period for learning languages early in life. And then about 10 years ago, I became interested in neuroimaging and what changes there were in the brain, what we call brain plasticity. And I moved to Georgetown University and became director of the Center for Brain Plasticity and Recovery. And I went through mentored training in stroke recovery, and now I work on pediatric stroke, looking at how children recover from strokes. I study kids who have a stroke at birth, and luckily for kids, they recover quite completely and use healthy parts of the brain to acquire language in the hemisphere that doesn't usually control language. And we only wish adults could do that after they have a stroke. So what we're trying to do now is figure out how to help adults to use healthy parts of the brain to recover the abilities that they lose when they have a stroke. So I direct the Center for Brain Plasticity and Recovery, as I said, and we are trying to figure out how to make recovery happen in adults the way it does in kids.
Great, thank you. And finally, Elizabeth, tell us about your work.
Yeah, I am at Northwestern in Chicago, and I lead our Center for Genetic Medicine. I'm a cardiologist and I'm a geneticist, and my research is in discovering new genetic causes of disease. In my clinical practice, we're at the forefront of trying to bring that genetic information into practice. And these days also thinking about gene editing and genetic correction. There's a very exciting time in genetic medicine that we're seeing some treatments get to patients right now. I came to Barnard wanting to be a physician, and very quickly my eyes were open to all the wonderful science opportunities that were available there and the research I got to do. And admittedly, I got started doing a lot of it as a work study student because I didn't have 2 cents to my name, and that was what I needed to do to put myself through school. Worked up at PNS and some other places, and luckily through some connections got exposed to some research up at Albert Einstein College of Medicine, where I entered the MD PhD program, finishing both MD and PhD, did my postgraduate training at Harvard, and then my first faculty position at University of Chicago for many years. And then I came to Northwestern about 8 years ago to lead the Center for Genetic Medicine. So it's just, people who are interested in science and being a physician, you can do both. And it's a very exciting career, and like to feel that what we're doing gets into helping people and families.
Great, thanks all of you. We're gonna go to one last question before we open things up. Sarah's gonna ask, we're gonna call it a speed round question. So you each get 1 sentence to answer Sarah's question. Sarah, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again for being here. So my question to you all is, we know that Barnard is a women's college, and for women in STEM at Barnard, there's support everywhere you turn. But then when we, graduate, go to the outside world, it's very different. So my question is, how did you navigate, I guess, the outside world with, now it's not only women, but there's men involved. And how did you navigate, and how did you fight for your recognition for your work after you graduated?
Yeah, I guess I would just say, for me, it was always keeping my eye on the mission and what I was trying to accomplish. And that is what allowed me to cut through a lot of things that could have been discouraging. But, you know, I always had a sense of determination about what I was trying to accomplish, and also building real allies. Some of my best allies were some of my male colleagues who appreciated the fact that they might have had oftentimes an easier path or the upper hand or what have you. And so, you know, I think building those networks and building allies, along with continuing to, you know, stay the course and be focused on what I was trying to accomplish in the different roles that I have played.
You know, for me, I just loved doing what I was doing. And so I just didn't worry about it. No chip on my shoulder, just, you know, go for it. And yes, there are some jerks in the world, but there are a lot more that aren't. And so just, you know, focus on doing what you love and don't worry about it.
Yeah, I was going to say the same. I've just always loved what I've been doing. And so that has really been the most important thing, to be able to do what I love. I also have to say that in my field, throughout development, developmental psychology, developmental biology as well, developmental neurobiology, there are a lot of women. And so that has really helped. My advisor was a woman. A lot of my colleagues are women.
I would jump in here following this remark and say that when I graduated at Barnard in '64, there were not a lot of women mentees. In fact, all of my initial mentors were men. I went to work at Bell Telephone Laboratories for 2 years as a research psychology assistant, and from there went to graduate school at UCSD. And I had male mentors probably through the first half of my career. But when I achieved faculty status myself as a senior faculty member at MD Anderson Cancer Center, I dived into supporting women faculty, women students, reaching for equality of salary, of promotion and tenure and awards. And I would say one thing that we learned coming up through these decades is that women now have much greater opportunities and equality than was true in earlier decades. And I still strongly hold that as a major goal and principle in my heart. And I think that all of us have, in a sense, made comments that follow a similar path. So go for it and look for women mentors, but they don't all have to be women. And just raise your hand when you are ready to make a point, and you'll get there.
I'm going to jump in because we're very low on time, and we're really excited to have been joined by another of our honorees, Elena Ottolenghi, Nightingale, class of '54, and would love to give her the final word for tonight. If you wanted to just tell us briefly about your work, or give us a brief piece of advice to women starting out in the sciences today.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much for having me join you. I find this a very exciting and also emotional event after so many years to be really in connection with my Barnard people. Barnard meant a lot to me. It gave me a way to a profession and to the kind of life I never dreamed I could have when I was a refugee child of a poor family. So I am exceedingly grateful to Barnard College and very happy to be back in touch. I think Barnard College is a very unusual educational institution, because for many reasons. One is that it's located in New York City, which opens every student up to all the other opportunities in what is probably the most interesting and challenging city in the world. But also, Barnard College, as part of Columbia University, opens up the whole university to its students. And the mentorship and opportunities at Barnard guided me to a profession that I am very proud to be a part of. And also I'm humbled by everybody else, all the other people who have accomplished so much. And I find it a real privilege and also emotional situation to be in touch with you all at this time of my life. I'm a very, very senior citizen now.
We're so pleased you could join us.
And thank you very much for the privilege of being part of your session tonight.
Thank you. I hate to cut this short, but we have a hard stop and a few little pieces of business to take care of. We want to take a final moment to capture a quick Zoom screenshot. So if everyone could look directly into their cameras, our designated photographer will give us a quick countdown to picture taking. So give everybody a second to turn their camera on if you're willing, and then we'll count down.
All right, I'll do it this way. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you. I do want to say thank you everyone for joining us tonight, making sure I'm not on mute, at Barnard's 2022 virtual annual gala. It was wonderful to connect with you and celebrate our wonderful Barnard community and gala honorees. As you are aware, the annual gala raises critical funds for student financial aid. Some of you have shared your stories about that tonight, and it's always so moving to hear about how important that was in getting people started on their pathways. If you have already donated to this year's gala, we thank you for your continued support. You may continue to support our students by visiting barnard.edu/gala and click on the link to support. Thank you again, and until next time, be well, and remember, the Barnard community is wherever you are.